Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Guru Bhyo Namaha. Hari Om. वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं. Okay, so where is my Bhagavad Gita here? So we finished verse 40 and we are at verse 41. And basically in 40 we learned where does the Kam and Krodh hide. It told you that where is the enemy. First of all, Krishna Bhagavan called it an enemy. And to just go back a little bit, Arjun had asked a question that what is within us that makes us do sin. And sin over here in Vedanta is when it takes you away from consciousness, when it takes you away from God. And Krishna Bhagavan is giving a very long answer with all kind of scientific thing in there. And he said, first he said, identify that desire and anger are your enemy. And then we learned that it is not actually desire and anger, because desire and anger are same thing, depending on, what condition it is. If something comes in between me and my desire, turns into anger. That's all it is. Same energy diverted to anger. And then he said it needs to be destroyed. It starts with rag and dvesh, likes and dislikes in our life. Don't come under its sway. So it's not saying get rid of your likes and dislikes. Those are very important little points that we should contemplate upon. We cannot get rid of our likes and dislikes as long as we are in the body. But we should not come under its sway. And I think that Joe was saying how last time we were talking about tea example and all, and I just want to tell everybody, please don't stop drinking your afternoon tea, because that has nothing to do with it. I was just giving that examples are only given to make a point, So just take that example to learn a point. That's all it is. It is that don't get so attached to it that krodh aa jaye agar nahi mile to, and then you start, lashing out at people or hurting yourself. That's what it meant actually. So please enjoy your afternoon tea, which is very important in this pandemic. Okay, and then it also said that where it hides in our senses, mind, and intellect. And then now what he's going to talk about is how he's telling a little more about it, and then he's going to go into the method of. He's already telling us the method. Don't come under the sway of it, but Krishna Bhagavan gives many different things, and he goes very deep into the psychology. So at every point we have to understand, and when we understand this whole thing completely, then we have a better chance of fighting with the enemy and destroying it. So that's why we have to look at, and whatever we have learned, we should not forget that in the past and then add on more stuff to it, and that's where we are. Okay, so we'll go to verse 41. तस्मात् त्वमिन्द्रियाण्यादौ नियम्य परतर्षभ पाप्मानं प्रजहीहेनं ज्ञानविज्ञाननाशनम्. Tasmat is therefore, Tvam is you, Indriyani, the senses, Ado, in the beginning, Niyamya, having controlled, Bharatarshava, O best of Bharata, Papapnam, the sinful, Prajahi, kill. He is surely, definitely do it. Enam, this, Jnana Vijnana Nashanam, the destroyer of knowledge and wisdom. So basically, what he's telling you over here, first he told you where the enemy hides and all that. What is the attacking strategy now? Now the question, of course, he's talking to Arjun, and Arjun meaning he's a soldier. So he's using the war language. That's one of the main reasons. If you don't like the world language, just think of it because if he was talking to an engineer, maybe he would have used engineering language, and some finance means finance language, but here it is that. But it's pretty interesting, this language. So once you know the enemy, you have to capture or find the enemy and attack it. So where do you start your war strategy? So he's telling you first line of defenses at the sense level, that you try to get it at the sense level and don't come under the sway of likes and dislikes. Even though enemy may, once you start attacking him at the sense level, he might go inside. He might go and sit in your mind and your intellect. अंदर घुसता जाएगा, right? अगर एनिमी को हम अटैक करेंगे तो वो क्या करेगा? घर के अंदर भागेगा, फिर बेसमेंट में चला जाएगा, like we were talking. Still, it's okay. Do that. अगर उसको पहले ही कैप्चर कर लिया तुमने likes and dislike में, then you won the war, right? So you have to start there. That's one way of looking at it. Another way of looking at it, even if the enemy, this calm and krodh, is hiding in your senses, in your mind and intellect, it still expresses through the sense. Remember, we discussed all that in the past. How do I know that I have all these things? मैं किसी का मन तो नहीं देख सकती, right? But when they start expressing it through the senses by bodily language or nasty speech and all that's how only we know somebody's angry. So expression happens at a sense level. So he's saying that try to control it at the sense level. And the best example is when we do get angry at somebody, what's the first thing we do to them? We start shouting at them, So that आ गया कि नहीं समझ, speech हो गई कि नहीं, कर्मेंद्रिया हो गई. So control at the speech level, and some we do that too. We go outside, we get so angry at people, and sometimes we know it is not decent thing to do, so we kind of hold it back. But he's going to tell you the technique to dissolve everything then too, because you know that if you hold the anger or something back and you don't dissolve it, then what can happen? That's no good either for spiritual purposes. So most important thing is to kind of catch it at the sense level. And he's calling in this verse, he's calling it the sinful thing. Sinful thing, and remember, in Vedanta, sin is slightly different than because usually हम ऐसे sin बोलते हैं ना, सब घबरा जाते हैं. Oh my God, I'm not sinful, Baba. Like it sounds like some really terrible thing, but we have to see from the Vedantic perspective, it's a very broad term. So it is a term which keeps you in the lower level of consciousness. Because if you have come under this way of your likes and dislikes, if you have given it emotion and made it into hate and love and things like that, and then you're justifying it with your mind, it will not help you evolve spiritually. It will keep you at a lower level of existence, and that's what in Vedanta is called sin. Because it's very important to understand why Krishna Bhagwan called Kam and Krodh sin. And in a Vedanta, like we were discussing at a very high level also, desires are considered that it covers the consciousness. Even sattvic desires. And that's why they always tell you the goal is in the end to transcend the gunas. The goal is to become gunati. Our goal is to transcend the mind or transcend the intellect. Because even a little bit of it can cover, but the journey is from tamasic to tamasic to rajasic to sattvic. Because if somebody is very much tamasic, cannot take that high jump. And that's why Krishna Bhagwan is going very systematically about karma yoga also. That to truly meditate, you have to become very efficient in the karma yoga and do it correctly, that you become fit for meditation. Basically, that's what, we have to remember. Because if I'm not saying don't sit in meditation, but if your meditation is not fructifying and your mind is running, then we know where we have to go back and kind of adjust ourselves, So those are all the things we have to keep remembering from the past verses and all that. And then another very, very important thing over here is that he's saying that it is a destroyer of Gyan and Vigyan. So let's look at the definition of Gyan and Vigyan in Vedanta. Because in generally what we say, Gyan means any kind of knowledge. Atma Gyan bolo, Sansar ka Gyan bolo, whatever, even your different subjects that you've gone to school, all that come under the Gyan in the regular thing. And Vigyan, science ko bolte hai, right? Apna translation karo to word ka. But here it's slightly different meaning. So Gyan is all the knowledge that you acquire through other people. Say by studying, by going to school, by listening to satsang, by, listening to your teacher. All of that comes under Gyan. Vigyan is when you yourself make it your own completely and experience it yourself and totally convinced about it. Then it becomes your wisdom. Okay? For example, a very kind of simple example. The doctor said, you had a headache. You went to the doctor and said, take a Tylenol. So you have the knowledge that I took Tylenol से दर्द ठीक होता है. तो खाली knowledge से ठीक हो जाएगा क्या? No. What do you have to do? You have to actually take it and then experience, okay, now my headache is gone. So that becomes a wisdom. This is a very simple example. So basically, wisdom it's much deeper. And usually, like one of the Swami was explaining, that if you just hear somebody else and their experience, and you might say, wow, very good, you might even memorize it, and you can even go and repeat it somewhere else, but it's not going to do anything for you. It will slip away from you. Until you sit down, contemplate upon it, think it very thoroughly, experiment it, and say, now I know this is true. Then nobody can shake you, So, usko vigyan bolte hain yahan par, Vedanta mein. So something that is through your experience and churning of the ideas has become your own. So what Krishna Bhagavan is telling over here is that this calm and krodh actually harms both. So let's see how it can harm both. It harms, if you have too much calm and krodh in you, you won't be able to understand what your teacher is saying. Or you won't be able to get the even simple knowledge. Because it'll just cover it. Basically, it covers you won't be able to get. So that's one. Second is, suppose तुमने मननम करके और contemplation करके उसको अपना बना लिया वो वाले wisdom को, और वो तुम्हारा बन गया wisdom. लेकिन अगर calm and krodh strong हो जाएगा ना, पहले तो ढक देगा उसको. Okay? जब हम लोग को temporarily गुस्सा आ जाता है तो if you remember the chapter 2 में there was a ladder of fall. What is the sequence of, you want something so bad, and then clinging desire, and then somebody comes in the middle of that desire, you get angry. To angry में क्या होता है? You lose memory. Memory means memory about that person. He may be your teacher, he may be your guru, he may be your children, whoever, they may have done great things for you. Forget everything and you just, and then you lose the discrimination. Vivek buddhi khatam ho jati hai, and then you get destroyed. So basically, he's telling you that calm and krodh will cover your wisdom, but if you don't stop at that point and your calm and krodh has gone deeper into you, and you start justifying it, it actually will destroy your wisdom. So that's another very, very important thing, that destroy the wisdom means you will forget, you will not believe in that anymore. Calm and justify करने से calm and krodh तुम्हारा wisdom बन जाएगा फिर. You will be just, trying to fulfill those things. And the real wisdom that you have gained will get finished. दोनों तरफ से it is harmful. So that's why it's called Gyan and Vigyan both. And so this is this verse that we are going to be doing. Okay. Any question on this whole technique or understanding of what it is? Any question, comment, or if somebody wants to add a point? No? Okay. Who's going to read Swamiji's commentary? Geeta, you want to read? You haven't done it for a while.
I don't have Swamiji's commentary.
Oh, okay.
I have a different commentary.
Okay. Who would like to? Meena ji, Sushil ji.
Sure, I can do it. Therefore, O best of Bharatas, controlling first the senses, killing this sinful thing, the destroyer of knowledge and wisdom.
So here, I just wanted to tell you how he addressed him as Bharatar Shabha, best of Bharat. Because I told you that the deep psychology is involved. So he's really telling him that, look, you are the best of this, so you should have a lot of wisdom. So don't let this calm and crow destroy. So he's really giving him very sweetly, he's addressing him with that.
As indicated earlier, Krishna declares a truth only when he has exhausted all the logical arguments leading to it. After giving all the arguments, he summarizes here, therefore restrain the senses first, so that you may finally throw overboard the inner enemy, desire. Desire is a threat to both knowledge and wisdom. Shankara distinguishes these two by his own definition of what is knowledge, jnana, and what is wisdom, vijnana. Vijnana mentioned in the stanza. Jnana is the knowledge of the self and of other things acquired from the scriptures and from a teacher. Vijnana is the personal experience of the truth so taught. In short, the import is that desire agitations are a danger not only to our little divine experiences, which we may gain during our practices of yoga and devotion, but also to our intellectual capacities to understand and follow directly the advices of a master, and also to gather and appreciate indirectly the knowledge from the studies of the scriptures.
So we discussed that, right? That anything that we acquire from the books, from the scriptures, and by reading and all that, that's considered gyan. And when your own experience, and then it becomes your own knowledge, intimate knowledge with you, then it is a vigyan.
So that means when anger, we get angry at certain things or whatever, and it becomes a part of us. So that means it's always going to be there.
You mean anger will always be there? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, because if you justify it,
right.
part of you, then you don't think of it as anger anymore. It just becomes your habit, maybe.
It becomes you will pursue those things because you have justified them, and then if you get angry, you will just blame other people for making you angry. You're not even going to realize that it is your own desire. And that was Swamiji was saying, that justification happens sometimes, like पुराने ज़माने में वो कहानियाँ पढ़ी है ना, वो एनिमोसिटी जनरेशन तक जाती थी. वो उसका बाप बोलता था ये मेरा दुश्मन है, तू उससे जाके लड़, means it's justifying it unnecessarily. And then he said nations also. I don't want to get political over here because that's not the purpose. But just to give an example, कि nations आपस में they have animosity, and then next time you see the guy who belongs to that country, the poor guy may have done nothing to you. He may be the most spiritual guy, but you start hating him because he's from a different country. Those are the kind of justification goes so deep into you that it becomes just like, oh, ऐसे तो सभी को करना ही चाहिए, means, it's so great to be like this. That's what he's talking about. But spiritually speaking, it is not good to have those kind of, it harms you only because it prevents you from, going deeper, more towards the consciousness. That's what it is.
Desire is called sinful since in its grosser manifestations, it tends to make us live and work, satisfying our lower nature, and thus persuades us to live a lower devolutionary life. Even at its best, sattvika, like the smoke that covers the fire, desire does not allow the full dawn of the infinite, which is the self in us. Thus, desire in all its textures contributes to the sins of man, and therefore it is styled here as the sinful thing.
So this is like talking about the highest Vedanta actually. And you saw that when we were doing the lakshan or the characteristic of the man of wisdom in chapter 2, when Arjun asked that question, okay, all this is great, but are there such people who exist in this world who are like established, and how, if they are, how do they behave? What are their characteristics? And the first characteristic that Krishna Bhagavan mentioned was Prajahati Yada Kama. They don't have any desire. And so what does that mean? That, what, they don't do anything? That's not what it means. They do very hard work. They are working 24/7, but doing for Lok Sangraha. They understand that happiness is not in acquiring things or, and things like that. I'm not going to get anything. They just do it as a service to others, because my own nature is happiness itself. Once you get to that stage, so what Krishna Bhagavan is actually doing, see that final stage that we talk about, he's going to talk about that too, technique of meditation, right in this chapter. Next two verses, it's becoming, especially the last verse, is going to be a technique of meditation. He just touches upon it. But, he's not discounting all the other people who are at a different level, like us. We are not reached there, right? So for us, maybe it's just intellectual understanding, okay, in meditation I can dissolve anything. But the truth is, when I sit in meditation, it doesn't get dissolved. If it did get dissolved, then tomorrow I will not get angry. I will not get upset, but we do. So he's telling you the different techniques at different level, then you make progress towards that. किसी को अगर meditation में dissolve हो गया, fantastic. There's nothing like it. But if it's not there, then he's telling you different techniques to destroy the enemy. He's covering everybody at every level. That's what he's doing.
It is easy for a doctor to prescribe a medicine for my wound and promise me immediate healing. It is, indeed, consoling to have the prescription in my hand, but I am sure I will never gain a cure if the prescription requires me to prepare an ointment out of sky flowers. Similarly, it is quite a dignified advice for a spiritual master to declare, control the senses and cast off the desires, O man. But unless the teacher gives us method by which we can get this prescription dispensed, it will be as useless as the sky flower treatment for my painful wound.
So he's just telling you that Krishna Bhagavan ne bola ki, okay, go destroy the enemy, do it at the sense level and all that, but still he has to tell exactly how. And if somebody just says, oh, this is the remedy, but the remedy is like impossible to do, or I don't even know where to go get the remedy, it is useless. That's the example he's giving, that, get the prescription requires ointment with a sky flower. We know sky flower don't exist. So Krishna Bhagavan doesn't do that. He actually tells you a technique which can be done by us humans. That's what it is. So he's going to go, that's where it is.
Where should one take his stand and cast off the desires? The answer follows.
So now he's going to go, enemies hiding over there, where you should go and plant yourself and attack the enemy and kill. That's what he's going to tell you in the next verse. But as far as this 41 is concerned, does anybody have any question, comment, or want to add anything? Everybody okay with it? All right. Well, you guys have become amazing. But I still want to encourage, if anybody has anything to talk about regarding that particular thing, please do. Because I like to hear your opinions too, Okay, so verse 42, whoever has the Gita. Indriyani paranyahu indriyebhya param manaha manasastu para buddhi yo buddhe paratastu saha. Indriyani, the senses. Parani is superior. Ahuhu, they say. Okay, now here another important thing I want to tell you. Krishna Bhagwan never claims, oh, this is my opinion. Very few times he said that. My mata, he said it once, but most of the time he's saying, this is what the Upanishads are saying. This is what the wise people are saying. So Swami Chinmayananji used to tell us that Hinduism is not started by one person at all. It is like the Sanatan Dharma means all these laws of life are same. No matter 5 million years ago, 5,000 or now, just like the physics law and chemistry law and all, they don't change. Same way psychological laws also don't change. And so किसी ने बोला कि can you say that who is the author of physics? No. You cannot say that, somebody can discover something, like Einstein discovered a law of gravity, but he's not an author of physics. Same way, there is no such thing as author of a Sanatan Dharma. But different people at different times for millenniums and for thousands and millions of years, whatever, validated these things. That's what has happened in the Hinduism, that there is no one person like a pope or, or Jesus or one person. No. It is validated by many, many. So when Krishna said, wise people said it, Upanishad said it, like that. So that's why he's saying, they saying it. That's where this word significance is there. Indriyebhya, then the senses. Parama, superior. Manaha is mind. Manas is then the mind. Tu is but. Para, superior again. Buddhi, we know intellect. Cha is who. Buddhe, then the intellect. Parataha, greater. Tu is but. Sa is he. Okay, so basically here, remember we did the Panchakoshas? 5 different sheets that we have over the consciousness or our true nature. Just remember those things. But anyway, I'm going to be repeating what he's saying. So this is one of the beginning of the technique of meditation. So he's saying that the senses are superior than the body, or sense objects also, you can say, or body also. Now let's see, body is made of, according to Vedanta, Panch Mahabhut. And it's a scientific too. The 5 elements, the way they divide the 5 elements, is earth, water, air, fire, and space. Okay, so it's made up of that. Senses are superior because senses can have more power. In a sense, it's a little technical thing. I'm seeing my body is made up of this, but my senses can go far. The reach of the senses are very far. I can hear something, 5 miles away, some dhamaka happens, I can hear it. My body cannot go there, but my senses can. You see how it has become superior? I can see, when I look at the sky, I can see the stars, which may be like, I don't know what they say, 2 billion years old or something, some ridiculous thing that, the light has traveled all this time and I can see it. So my senses, and then, and smell and all that, very powerful thing. So he's saying senses is more superior, or let's look at it another way also. It is more subtler. Remember we talked about when we were doing the Panch Mahakosh, that what is subtle and what is gross. Subtle is more pervasive. So my body is right here, but my senses are more pervasive. Okay, it's more inner. It is closer to the consciousness than the body. Those are all different aspects we have to churn upon in our head. So it's subtler, it's closer, it's inner, and when you go, as you go step up, you will see that where I'm getting at. As you go deeper and subtler, those have more power over the other. Just remember that also. So start with the body and then is senses. Senses के बाद आता है मन or mind. Okay. Now you can see the senses. Man is more or mind is superior than the senses. Why did they say that? अगर मन जुड़ा नहीं हो तो senses कुछ कर ही नहीं पाएंगे. In the deep sleep, senses are not active because man is not connected with it. Mind has gone to sleep. Or if I'm sitting over here and my mind is so engrossed, let's say for in this class it is engrossed, बाहर कुछ भी हो रहा है मुझे कुछ सुनाई भी नहीं देगा. I'm not going to. Or somebody who concentrates a lot with the mind, देर कोई आया गया किसी को कुछ पता ही नहीं चलता है. Senses become निष्क्रिय. Okay, that's one point in this superiority. Another point is that all these senses are a reporting equipment to the mind. That's all its job is. They are like almost like a, क्या बोलना चाहिए, mind के soldiers समझ लो, कुछ समझ लो कि they are bringing in stuff. नौकर उसका समझ लो, they are bringing in stuff to the mind, and then each sense cannot do the other job. They are very extremely limited from the mind perspective. Eyes cannot smell, ears cannot see. Okay, so each sense is just by itself powerful, but beyond that it cannot do anything. Mind can understand all five, and very quickly, very together. It can synthesize everything and it can understand all five things. So mind has become superior, right? Now mind again has a limitation. What limitation mind has? Mind understands everything, gathers the data, seat of emotion. So वहाँ reaction शुरू हो जाएगा mind में. If I see something, I like it or I don't like it. I want it, I don't want it. बस उधर तक ही उसका चलेगा मन का, okay? Mind level has no capacity to decide what I should be doing next with it. It's the intellect which has a more capacity. So now let's examine intellect. Now when we talk about mind, beware that sometimes in Vedanta, mind is used as both. Mind and intellect depend on the context. But if you go into it deeply, then you divide the mind between mind and intellect. Mind is a seat of emotion and gathering all the data. Intellect is the deciding capacity. Okay, now I must do this. So if my mind has proper wisdom in it, I go back. If my intellect has more proper wisdom in it, it will make the right decision. Okay, it will not get swayed by the likes and dislikes. It will make the right decision. And the reason the intellect has more power, because intellect has a capacity to go beyond mind. Something beyond it that which I'm not seeing it, but I have learned from somewhere, or I can contemplate and go further. वो कोई एक उर्दू की शायरी है, सितारों से जहां और भी हैं और इश्क के इम्तिहान और भी हैं, something like that. Just beyond it can go. So that's where the intellect comes in. So intellect is more powerful than the mind. So everybody got that? Now he's taking you beyond. What is more powerful? Everybody can guess. Is the consciousness is the most powerful. So when you transcend intellect, and this consciousness give the power to everything. And the best example, simplest example is electricity and the equipment. No matter how sophisticated my phone, iPhone 12 I have or whatever, when the battery is dead, it cannot do anything. Okay, so but electricity is not the equipment. That's another relationship. That electricity is common among all the equipments, of electrical equipment, thousands and thousands of them. Electricity is the same. And what Chinmayananji used to say, electricity is not, you cannot say Chinese electricity, Indian electricity. At the core of it, it's the same. Or it's like H2O. if the H2O is pure, whether it is in China or India or America, it's H2O. That's it. So same way consciousness is common. That's what gives it power to, intellect, mind, everything. It gets power. That is the most powerful thing. अगर कोई वो सीट पे बैठ गया ना, तो desire wipe out हो जाएगी. That's where that lakshan of that characteristic of the Siddha Prajna came. That's why he said that the person who is established in that knowledge, he doesn't get phased. And that's the same as moksha. We were talking about, Kamlaji is also listening, that when we were talking about moksha, if somebody is in that state of establishment, he's in moksha 24/7. Okay, he may be just coming out to do the worldly thing, but inside, he's totally like established in it. Okay, so this is what he's telling you. So what is the significance here that about, coming back to what Krishna Bhagavan was saying, attacking the enemy. So suppose, I have not reached that final state of, meditation. I have not dissolved everything. I'm not there yet, How do I deal with it at the worldly level then, So suppose if likes and dislikes are there, so first I try to don't come under its sway. Suppose they have gone deep, they've gone into my mind. If I've gone into your mind, sit in your intellect. Establish yourself in the intellect. वहाँ पर जाके सोचो कि is it the right thing to do? And if you have the right wisdom, it will tell you it's not the right thing to do. You're coming under the sway. You're coming under the sway of your hate and love at the mind level and likes and dislikes. Don't do it. So then you will overcome it. But, one of the problem is that the intellect is corrupted, then it's a huge problem. Like we have discussed that, then you justify it and all that. So, but if you start this process, intellect will start opening up a little bit. Okay? It will. And then you will slowly get it. Because it's like if I believe something very, very strongly, I will keep justifying it, but you keep hearing that. That's why satsang is such a great thing. That you keep hearing it again and again, and then it penetrates your mind, and then you do your little contemplation, chintan, and in this kind of class, we talk to each other, and we make our knowledge more deep, by these studies and all that, these kind of studies. Then it will be easy for me to conquer the enemy, which is, desire and anger. So that's the kind of technique he's talking about in this. Any question? It's pretty scientific if you think about it. The psychology is very, very scientific. Shall we read then? Nobody has anything, question or anything? Okay. Who's ready to read? I have only few readers here. Premji, very good. Aye, Premji.
Myself. Okay. Okay, now they say that the senses are superior to the body. Superior to the senses is the mind. Superior to the mind is the intellect. One who is even superior to the intellect is he, the Atman.
See, so he means यहाँ पर that consciousness.
Right.
Or here, I want to tell a technical word यहाँ, Atman, the consciousness within me is the same as the consciousness everywhere. Just like I said that at a core level, H2O is the same, electricity is the same way it is expressing through me that consciousness, but it is like a space which cannot be divided. Appearance of division is there, but it cannot be divided. So just remember that. Whether they say Atman or Paramatma, in this context, it is the same.
This and the following stanza with which Vyasa concludes the third chapter of his incomparable Geeta give every seeker a perfect technique by which he can successfully hunt down and then capture his inner enemy, desire. The art of meditation, and through it, the withdrawal of our ego from all the false identifications with outer domain of matter into the essential balance of truth, having been first declared in Upanishads. Vyasa is here almost repeating in the same scriptural language the inconvertible technique of meditation practiced for the purpose of self-rediscovery. These stanzas here have close approximation with the mantra of Kathopanishad.
Okay, so here you see the Kathopanishad is coming. Okay, so what he's telling you, the art of meditation through the withdrawal of our ego from his false identification, this truth have been first declared in the Upanishads. So that's where the significance of Upanishads come, because Upanishads are very ancient. Just like they say, there is no timeline for Vedas, right? It's that knowledge that has constantly come and maybe disappeared for a while, come again. It's the same knowledge. And the example is what I gave you, is a law of gravity. Maybe like a few hundred years ago in the Western world, I don't know exactly when the Newton came. I don't know the history so well, the timeline. But before that, they said they didn't know about law of gravity, right? It doesn't mean it didn't exist, correct? It just he discovered it, so he told everybody. Same way, this knowledge of Vedas is like comes for a while, then it disappears, comes again, and Krishna Bhagavan is going to say also that sometimes it gets contaminated too. Vedas are saying one thing and people start interpreting it all different ways and all that. And some saint and sage has to come to fix it, So like one of the saints used to say कि अगर किसी ने फैक्ट्री बनाई है तो कभी कभी जाके उसका ध्यान भी रखेगा, वो कुछ गड़बड़ होगा तो जाएगा कि नहीं वहाँ पे. वैसे ही अवतार आते हैं. And like even the saints and sages are like representative of that consciousness only. And they come at appropriate time to do appropriate thing. So then we should not be even, sometimes people say, I don't like what Buddha does and all. Hey, Buddha was right for that time. Okay? And you may or may not like, but he had a huge purpose. They say 10,000 people got self-realized because of Buddha, when around that time or something. It was quite amazing. So everything has a purpose over there. And so, here this word is incontrovertible technique. Means nobody can dispute these techniques. Just saying that these laws are absolutely fixed. And another thing that I really thought in this paragraph was it's referring to Kathopanishad that we are studying. So we are going back to the source almost, from where Bhagavad Gita is actually considered the cream of all the Upanishads. That's why it has so much significance that it's not only, but Kathopanishad में से बहुत सी ideas यहाँ पे आई हैं,
Okay. Although we cannot expect the Bhagavad Gita, especially in one of the very opening chapters, an exhaustive treatment of technique of meditation, yet we find that in these stanzas, the Lord has etched out a complete outline of the scheme of self-discovery.
He said etched out, like, how the etching you do, he's actually told you exactly. So basically he's saying that, he's not suddenly jumping into meditation full-fledged yet, because that is chapter 6 is going to come. But there is a lot of preparation to be done before we do that. That because one of the problem that is happening is meditation has become like such a popular word in the West now. Everybody meditating, which is great. But if we don't understand really the core of it, and because I'm doing the translation of that app over there in Hindi, so I'm going through a lot of Swamiji's lecture, which is amazing because I'm getting to learn a lot more. So he reminded everybody, actually the word meditation is not an action. It is a state that you reach. And what all people say, I'm doing meditation and all, they're preparing for it. It's a preparation. And the example he gives is of sleep. That, hey, when you sleep, how do you fall into sleep? You prepare for it. When the sleep comes, you don't know. If you have done a good preparation, and if you have dropped everything, preparation means even mind mein hona chahiye. You have to drop all your attachments to the world. At that time, you cannot be thinking of money, your business, your this, otherwise sleep aayegi nahi. So you drop everything, sleep will automatically come. That way, if you have prepared everything perfectly, you will merge with that consciousness at that time. So that's what it is. So this is the technique he's saying that he's introducing, that how you travel from your senses to the mind, to the intellect, to that consciousness. That's what he's saying. Premji, padhiye aage.
Okay. Compared with the objects of the world, we can easily understand the sense organs are more sacred and divine. Of the instruments that constitute our physical structure, certainly the sense organs are subtler than the organs of action. Every one of us can easily experience that our mind controls and orders our sense organs, and therefore we know that the mind is subtler than the indriyas.
So we already went through it. I told in detail about subtlety and all that. That's what he's talking about, huh?
No doubt the mind has a vast kingdom to roam about in, and even so, it has its own limitation and fixed frontiers. From the knowledge to knowledge, we extend the frontiers of our mind, and all along this aggressive march of new conquests, it is the intellect